Garden Express are Australia's leading mail ordering service, offering a wide range of quality gardening products. Each week on the Garden Gurus Live, the team at Garden Express will share a weekly offer. So make sure after today's show, you jump online and visit their website.
Well, hello. Welcome to the Garden Gurus Live. I'm Trevor Cochrane. I'm here in Sydney, believe it or not. Actually, I'm going to show you this. I thought I'd set myself up so that I could have the Sydney Harbour Bridge as a bit of a backdrop. The hotel I'm staying at is right overlooking it. And folks, you can see her over there. There's the beautiful city of Sydney and her iconic Harbour Bridge. The downside, of course, is that, with all the light behind me, I kind of disappear. So I thought we might face around in a different direction and allow me to, you to see me and me to see you and your questions as well. Now, we've got a fantastic show for you today. It is our last show of the season, which is hard to believe. We are going to, I am going to answer all of your garden questions. I just want to say a big thank you to everybody who came along to my open garden last week. It was obviously an invitation only to those people that had supported the Kalamunda Garden Festival, which is on, by the way, this weekend coming. And I wanted to especially say thanks to a few people who turned up. Jeannie, thank you very much, Jeannie. I'm sure you tuned in with us today, but thanks very much for the beautiful gifts for both myself and also Shay Lee, who I should mention is having a day off today. And Paul Way is at the wheel again. He is actually driving this all on his own. So if there are any technical disasters, we know who to blame. Big hello to Troy Devereaux, who was also along in my backyard as well on the weekend. It all went very well. It's the very first time I've kind of shown people around. It's a garden for me, my garden. So I haven't really taken it necessarily shared lots of the tips and facts and hints and so on, but I did, and it was good fun, and I'm really glad that we did it, and I'm glad we're able to help Andy and Mandy at the Kalamunda Garden Festival. All right, let's maybe get on with things because we've got all the things you expect. Of course, we're going to have some fantastic offer coming from our friends at Garden Express. We have got a $50 gift voucher for the best question from today's session, which again is shopping at Garden Express. Of course, the great thing about Garden Express, 24 hours, 7 days a week, you can shop online and buy your favorite plants and all sorts of things, and they deliver direct to your door. And with that in mind, maybe we should jump straight into this and have a quick chat to Rowan. Hopefully he's around. And there he is, just like that.
Good morning. Yeah, magic, just like that.
Good. Just like that. Way is on fire so far, isn't he?
He's doing a great job.
Yeah, there's no pressure on him at all, so it's okay. He'll be fine. It's always a pretty magical thing that you could be in Melbourne, I can be in Sydney, Way can be in Perth, and of course everybody is tuning in from all over the country, and we're able to come together in this wonderful little community that we have. Technology is an incredible thing.
It's a great forum, isn't it? And answering people's questions and getting back to them in real time. It's great.
Yeah. Look, you know what? We've got some pretty cool questions coming up. There's one that I think will be specifically lined up for you, actually. So I'll bring that up in a few minutes' time. Cool. Tell me how things going out there. You guys, we're getting obviously to the pointy end now, aren't we? Because there's only so much time before you can ship. When are people able to? When will people have to stop placing orders if they want delivery in time for Christmas?
Yeah, look. So for viewers in WA, Tasmania, Northern Territory, the quarantine states, we've actually stopped shipping over to those states as of Wednesday. Reason being, we don't want things getting caught up in quarantine in the post busy Christmas period. So we do cut it back nice and early. The plants are better off staying in our nursery, getting looked after over Christmas.
Yeah.
For the rest of the country, Monday is the cutoff point for Christmas. For plants, we will ship hard goods and the likes a little bit closer to Christmas, but for plants we cut it off because we just don't want them getting caught in the post.
Yeah, no, it absolutely makes sense. But sometimes when it comes to gifts, it's very difficult to sort of know what exactly one person might already have or might want. And so it's probably where, the thing that we've been doing the last couple of weeks has been those incredible gift vouchers. And it's such a good deal that you guys put together with that one.
Yeah.
Is that still available?
It is. So we will run that right up until Christmas Eve, so that anybody like me that hasn't had a chance to get out and do their Christmas shopping, they can jump online. It gets sent straight to the person, or they can print it out and give it to the person on Christmas.
Yeah.
So we do have our fixed price gift vouchers. They're the ones that you've been talking about for the last couple of weeks. We've got 4 different denominations, so you're going to get 20% extra on all of those. So pay 50, get 60, pay 100, get 120, right up to paying 200 and getting $240 worth of value. So it really is a great gift. Keep an eye out for our Boxing Day, New Year's sales. An extra 20% from a gift voucher on top of our already
sale. Yeah,
it's a really good way. Shh, don't tell anybody.
Didn't think of that. Hopefully Dave's not tuned in,
well,
because
hopefully he's not watching. I'll see if the camera in my office is moving, but no. So it is a really good one, and obviously that can be purchased right up until the end of Christmas Eve, right? And we may even leave it up for Christmas. We'll see how we go. But if those denominations don't work for you, we also have one that you can top up and put whatever value on you like. Starting at $25, can't do under 25, but up to sort of $1,000 if that's what you want to do.
Wow, that's an amazing deal, and it's so convenient because, of course, you order it online with you, and then you mail it directly to the gift recipient, don't you?
Yeah, that's right. So it can go straight to their inbox as an email, so that's an instant thing. If you don't want to send it straight to the person, you can send it to yourself and then print it out. It'll come with a nice, printable gift voucher that you can hand over on the day.
Wow, that's fantastic. That's really, what it's all about, mate, isn't it? It's making Christmas easy, because for busy people like you and certainly like me, sometimes getting to the shops, it can be a little bit on the challenging side. So this is going to make it about as easy as it can be.
Yeah, and of course, and then they can choose from everything. So everything
that's what I was
on
about
our website. So hard goods, plants, as we said, will be shipping when we come back in early January, but they're still there for sale. You can jump on, you can take advantage of those sales. But there's so much on there at the moment, and obviously when we come back from our Christmas break, there'll be a whole lot of new stuff on there as well. So it's a really good thing, and it's a great gift for sure.
You guys work so hard through the year, and this has been a particularly big year for Garden Express. So it's been non-stop. It'll be, a really well-received break, I think, when everybody gets a chance to actually put their feet up.
Yeah, absolutely. And we're still going, because we're in the middle of planning dailies out for next season. So Dave and the farm crew are out there day in, day out planting at the moment. Hippies will go in next. Wow. So, there's a fair bit to go. We'll be working right up to Christmas, have a couple of days off, and then probably get straight back into it. And the guys generally take a little bit more of a break a little bit later on in the year.
Yeah, gee, it's fantastic, mate. Now, listen, I know that there's been huge demand for the Wallamai pine, but we've got a question come in from Miles Young, and he's actually sent us some photos as well. Yes. And he's got this significant problem he's concerned about for a friend. He's got a Wallamai pine and has developed a cancer-like growth at its tip. Now you can see it there. What have we got?
That's actually a polar cap. So that is actually what the plant does to protect itself from winter frosts. That'll be like a waxy, almost sappy substance, but that breaks away come spring, and you get all your new growth from that. So if you look at that plant closer, you'll notice that it'll also have a very similar thing, but much smaller on the end of each branch as well. I ran around after we spoke a little bit earlier trying to find one, but all of our Wallamais in the shade houses and everything have all broken away. But I grabbed one here just to show you what that will turn into. So once that breaks away, you'll get this flush new growth coming out, and you'll see there on the I don't know if it's going to show up too, but you can see some different apple green foliage versus normal green foliage.
Yeah.
That's the new growth from spring that we've had. Now that's a That's a 150 ml pot. Have a look at the size of that plant. So all of this has broken away from that polar cap that you just showed. And that really is to protect the plant from winter frosts. These things have survived through ice ages, so it's a coping mechanism from that. So absolutely nothing to worry about. Do not cut it off. It's not a cancerous growth. It's a natural part of how the Willamite grows.
It's a big year for Willamite next year. We'll talk about that obviously at a later point, and do some stories on it. But it is a significant year, and of course this is a significant plant. It's a real icon of conservation. Bringing plants back from the brink is a real challenge, and it's such a good story.
Do we actually know where Miles is from?
No, Miles hasn't actually let us know where he's from, so I'm assuming that.
If that's still there, it'll be. I would assume it would be breaking away pretty quickly, because, as I said, spring is normally when those things break away and you see that new growth emerging. It's quite late to still have a polar cap now, but it's got to be to do with his climate and where he's got his plant positioned. Yep.
Now, it says, we've got a few people just passing some comments. So, Christine McCormack, can I order from Garden Express in the new year? I'm in WA.
Yep.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. You can order. You can continue to order. We just won't ship your goods. So if there's things like Willamite's a perfect example, actually. Obviously, we don't want to get this beautiful plant caught in the post. But what we do with Willamite up until Christmas is we allow you to download a gift voucher. So once you purchase your Willamite, not a gift voucher, sorry, but a certificate to say, hey, you know what, this is on its way. We'll pop it in the post as soon as Christmas is over with them, and we're comfortable that it's not going to get caught. But also, whether as it gets really hot, we don't like to send plants around. So weather permitting, we'll send it out straight away. But that allows you to hand over a nice little card saying, hey, you know what, this is the gift. It's going to be on its way. But as far as WA goes, other than now, just with those Christmas delays and stuff, we ship to WA all the time. It does go through a quarantine process, but absolutely ship most of our plants into WA.
Now, Jeannie Napier has also just asked a question for you. I want to order a couple of things online, but it's stated not for WA. Why is that? I'm assuming that some of those lines are banned for quarantine reasons.
That's 100%. We do have all the certification for dipping, and it does go through quarantine, but there are certain plants and things that we cannot ship just because biosecurity into WA is super, super tough. And there's certain things we're just not allowed to. Things like, what's the native that we're not allowed to ship? Sorry.
Or any of the members of the myrtle family, so any of the grafted eucalypts or anything like that. Of course, potatoes. You can't send potatoes into WA. But you can send them from WA everywhere else. I know you guys get some grown in the west and send east.
This year we actually trialled doing some potato packs within WA so that we could service the WA audience. That went really, really well. So look out for that next year. I'm sure we'll do a lot more.
Yeah. Okay. Well, look, it's always an absolute pleasure, Rowan. So we've got the gift voucher deal. There's still things you can still shop. You can shop from the comfort of your armchair 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Absolutely.
And of course, you will deliver, but it'll be in the new year. And of course, it's a really smart thing because you don't want plants sitting, we know that deliveries from Australia Post are a little challenging sometimes, and there's a huge amount of pressure on the system as we lead into Christmas. So it makes a lot of sense to wait till we've got after Christmas. So
we look after them. They're better off being in our nursery, under our watering regimes and things like that over the hot period anyway. But that's just, we want to deliver the best plant we possibly can, and this is how we go about doing it this time of year. Yeah.
Okay. Well, listen, mate. I'm sure I'll speak to you next week when I'm over in Melbourne for the Australian plant trials, which the Garden Gurus is sponsoring. That's a pretty major event, but we'll obviously also get out to the nursery and spend a little bit of time with you out there. Unfortunately, that's all for you with the viewers here of the Garden Gurus Live for this season. So I'm sure from all of them to you and the team at Garden Express, Merry Christmas.
Yeah, Merry Christmas to you. Just on that, I know you're giving away a $50 gift voucher for us today. How about giveaway two? One from me.
Whoa.
Choose another question and give away two.
Wow,
Merry Christmas,
fantastic.
everybody.
Oh, you're a good man. Hey, mate, thanks very much. Give my best to David and all the team.
Excellent, mate. Always a pleasure. We'll catch up with you next season.
Yeah, we'll see you next week. All right, terrific. Well, there's a good deal. Take advantage of it while you can. And there was a fantastic tip in there, and that was wait until the Boxing Day sales, because not only are you getting 20% extra dollars, but you'll obviously be getting things a lot cheaper than they probably normally would be. So it's pretty cool. Okay, let's have a bit of a look. We've got questions coming through everywhere, and Way is on fire at the moment. He has got everything organised. I'm super impressed. Jeff Elphick is in Ipswich in Queensland. Hi, Jeff. You sent us some photos. I have this grass weed in my wintergreen cooch, but no one can identify it or how to kill it without killing my cooch. And it's very difficult to tell, but it does look like paspalum is popping up within it. Yeah, I'm pretty sure. And it's a broadleaf. So here's the interesting thing about this, is that probably the best way you could knock that back is just to use weed and feed. Not the weed and feed for buffalo, but you actually want to use the traditional normal weed and feed, because that paspalum is a broadleaf grass and it will knock it back. It could be, it's very hard for me to tell, to be quite honest. It could also be crabgrass, but even that would be knocked back a little bit by a weed and feed spray, because it again is a broadleaf weed, albeit it's a pretty rampant one. I would give the weed and feed a bit of a shot first, and then let's have a look and see if in sort of 10 days it's not starting to yellow off a bit for you. And if you need to, maybe you need to do give it another hit. One bit of advice I would say, Jeff, is don't go spraying on a really hot day. Try and pick a day under 30 degrees, ideally sort of under 28, when you spray, and do it in the morning so that the spray really dries and sticks to the foliage during the day. That should help a lot. Hopefully that helped. Let's have a look here. Way, you've sent us through one for Liz 40. I'm not sure where you're from, Liz. But it's not too difficult a question. How do I transplant ground roses? I'm thinking that is into pots. And the answer is you're probably best, if you can, to wait until they go dormant. So sort of that May, June period of time when they are slowing down and dropping their foliage. That way, when you do, when you dig them out, the roots are not trying to move lots of moisture through, and any root damage is not going to send them into great shock. In saying that, roses do transplant relatively well. And if you get as much of the root system out and you then soak that soil that when it's come out with sea salt to reduce the stress, the transplant shock, and then replant into a pot that's about 20% larger than the root ball with a really good potting mix around the outside, they will do okay. Hopefully that made all sense, because it's a little complex, I know. But anyway, please, folks, make sure you tell me where you're from. It does help a lot. Raylene Hodgson, hello, you're in Melbourne. Just wondering if anyone can tell me what this red bug is that keeps eating my ornamentals, how to get rid of it. I'm assuming you sent us a photo, but I can't see it. So a red bug is really odd. A green bug or a brown bug I would get, but I'm not sure what this red bug is. And I think maybe you need to be sending us a photograph. Now, we do actually have a bit of a video on how to send photographs if you're not sure, because some people say it's a bit difficult. Wade, do you reckon we can pop that up and play it? That'd be great. Have you got a gardening question you'd like us to answer and you need to send us a photo? Well, simply head to our Facebook page and click on message. Type out your question and click the camera icon to take a photo in the app. Or click the image option and select the image you want to send us. Be sure to allow Facebook access to your camera and camera roll. We check our messages regularly, so sit back and be sure to tune in to the Garden Gurus Facebook Live show every Friday, and you'll hear your answer. And there you go. It's not that hard, but it does help me an awful lot when I'm trying to work out what it is that you've got a challenge with. Okay, let's keep rolling along. Marika Julia Winner, hello. You're in Terrigal in New South Wales. I'm so glad I got to the live. We're so glad to have you on the live and joining us. Thank you. You're having huge problems with black spot. Now, New South Wales is very steamy at the moment. There is a bit of breeze up here in Sydney today, but the last couple of days it has actually been very, very humid with rainfall, particularly later in the day. And that is a massive problem for black spot. You can treat black spot by putting fungicides on it, and even adding some sulfur dust in around the outside to try and keep all the fungal spores off. The key really is ventilation, is air movement. What I would do, Marika, I would suggest that you take all the yellowing foliage, or stuff that's got the black spots on, pull it away, pop it into a bag, tie it, pop that one in the bin, or solarize it, or or compost it or something. But don't allow it to fall on the floor in amongst the roses, because it needs to be. It really, really needs to be, I suppose, superheated in a hot compost if you're going to burn it out. When it comes to controlling it, obviously, it's just about air movement. So pull that foliage away, give it a bit of a treatment. There's a few different black spot treatments. In fact, there's a ripper from Yates, and it is very effective, but you're just going to have to spray. Hopefully, we start to see some drier conditions. It does feel very tropical over here, and that's not the ideal scenario for roses, unfortunately. So hopefully a little bit of advice there. Okay, Catherine Sutherland, hello, good morning. My lemon tree is collar rot. I'm in the process of pruning fruit and dead foliage from the tree. I'm treating it. Is there anything else I can do? Also, how do you control vigorous fruit tree suckers from popping up? Right, so fruit tree suckers first. Pull them away with your hand. Don't cut them with your secateurs. You'll stimulate more growth. Very interested about the collar rot. Very unusual for citrus to get collar rot. Not impossible. I had a beautiful mandarin in my garden and it suddenly just died one year, and it was a collar rot in around the base. There are some sprays that you can use, and there's a product called Fosject, which you can buy from garden centres, that's extremely effective in helping reduce those kinds of rots, whether they be collar rots or root rots. So maybe have a bit of a look at that as well. Bad news, but it's a fungus, so you need to treat it. Chrissy at Henry's in Perth. So now Chrissy said, I'm a great gardener, however, indoor plants I struggle with. Any advice? So with indoor plants, they are one of the classics. What I mean by that is that when plants have got a problem, it's either one of two things: too much love or not enough love. Too much love is generally overwatering, and not enough is underwatering. So how do you win? Well, self-watering pots are a great way to go, because usually they'll have a little monitor on the side where you can see where the water levels are, so you never run out of water. But also at the same time, water is always available to the root system. So maybe the solution for you, Chrissy, is to think about using some of those kinds of pots. As far as other problems, usually light. If you're up against a window and it's too bright, you can get burning. And if you're in a dark spot and there's no natural light coming through, you'll find the plants will grow to whatever light source they can get to. They'll stretch and they'll get into a bit of an unusual position. Even in our offices at Guru's headquarters, the plants need to be spun around every couple of weeks or so, because they literally start to go back towards the light, and they'll literally disappear in one direction. So what we do is we spin them around, and that way they're a bit of a showpiece, looking back at everybody who's walking past them. And then, of course, they'll start to turn around again and start to head back towards the light. It's just Mother Nature. It's just how she works. She's a beautiful thing, but good lighting is always very important. Hopefully that helps a little bit. Chrissy, speaking of Chrissy's, this is Christine. Christine, you're in Sydney. It's a good question. I've got a banana passion fruit with lots of buds, but the flowers won't open. What can I do? Well, the good news for you is that the flowers will open. They don't just fall off when they're in bud unless there's something really wrong with the plant. So it's more a case of just getting the right conditions. And what's probably going to happen is they'll all open at the same time, and probably in the next week or so. So I wouldn't worry about it, Christine. I think everything's fine. It's just hanging on. That's all it is. Natasha Jones, you're in Queensland. Hello. I want to know what hedge I could put for privacy. Now, there are lots of different hedge options, and you could go for any of the natives. You could also go for some of, well, I suppose they are natives too, some of the lily pillies, particularly in sort of the Queensland area. There are many lily pillies that look fantastic. Now, if it's an informal hedge and you don't mind them getting big, there's that beautiful Lemanii variety, the weeping rainforest, with the lovely sort of beautiful pink fruit that's edible and enjoyable. So maybe they're the way to go. Hopefully that helps you out a little bit. Okay, we'll keep rolling along because there's lots of questions coming through on our last show for the year. Can you believe it? Jenny Stubbo, we're not sure where you're from. Good afternoon. Any knowledge on how to get rid of the grass, please? I'm assuming you're talking about grass growing into garden beds, I would assume. The simple answer to that is that you do have to either pull it out by hand or use a systemic herbicide to get them through. Now, if you're using systemic herbicides in a garden bed, in fact, if you're using herbicides at all in a garden bed, you can't let them come in contact with any of the other plants. And just on roses that we were talking about before, roses, if it's something like glyphosate, roses are super, super, super sensitive to glyphosate, so you do have to be very careful. Yeah, all right, let's keep rolling along. Now, I've kind of lost a question here. I'm just going to pull us back up there. Marcia Blake. Hello, Marcia. You're in Harvey, in Western Australia. Looking at mulching my yard, which is approximately 200 metres just for my plant so far. Can I add a layer of a couple of different mulches like straw or sawdust and wood chip in Harvey, and certainly get some scorching summers, and mulching is the way to help solve that problem? You know what you could do? You could do a bit of a straw mulch with something like sheep manure over the top, and it will massively improve the quality of the soil and hold moisture up around those surface roots, those feeder roots that are so important. So hopefully that helps. Yeah, I think that that's probably my suggestion. There are other people making contributions as we go along, and a really good one here from Australia Gardening, of course, grevilleas as a native plant. Grevilleas, there are a lot of lovely what we call tropical grevilleas that come from northern New South Wales and southern Queensland that would do extremely well in that variety. They tend to be a little bit more stretched out, but you can prune them to a hedge. And of course, things like callistemons. There's also, they make the bottle brushes. They make some wonderful hedges too. So more ideas coming through. And I appreciate you throwing those forward. It's great because, as you well know, I'm thinking on my feet, and I have no pre-warning of what questions are coming. So every once in a while you'll have one that I just don't have an answer for, and also I've got to do some research, but not at the moment. So let's see how we go. Let's have a bit of a look here. Oh, that's okay. I'm just working my way through these questions because some of them are two parts. And the next one is from Victoria Sterling. Okay. Could you please advise me, you're in WA, what ground cover spreads well but doesn't harm a dog or attract bees? Now, the area is facing north, and I have a Maya lemon tree in the middle, which I put a round curving raised paving to protect. Okay, I get it. As far as ground covers go, there's obviously a lot of different ground covers, but pretty much all of them flower. There is one, however, that I'm using in shady spots at the moment that just does so well, and it will grow into the sunny spots, but it tends to mash where the lawn won't grow. It fills in those gaps, and it's a prostrate form of peppermint, and it's a It's one that's being sold in Western Australia by Banara Nurseries as a lawn alternative. It is a ground cover. The beautiful thing about this very flat growing peppermint is that it does create a nice thick dense covering. It's a lovely dark green colour, and every time you mow you've got this amazing fragrance of peppermint that wafts through your garden. So it's lovely. It's absolutely lovely. So maybe that's the suggestion I'll put forward today for you for that. Mel Morrow, hello, Central Coast, Queensland. Hello, maybe not Queensland, maybe the Central Coast of New South Wales. That's a good question. Your question is, we're inundated with mealybug. Okay, mealybug. It's costing a fortune with so many different sprays, but nothing completely eradicates them. There's also been attacking our woolly bush. We're going broke with sprays and replacing plants. Yeah, mealybugs are a big problem, and particularly when you've got humid conditions like we're seeing here in Sydney, they thrive in that environment. They love it, and it's a bit of a problem, and it's a difficult pest to control because it gets down into the root system. It's right in the axis and the heart of the plant, and then when it's really in plague proportions, you'll see it all over the leaves as well. And it's of course sucking out all the goodness. It is a sucker out of your plant. The only way to really treat it is to use a systemic, in my view anyways, to use a systemic insecticide. There are some predatory insects now that are available, and it might be worth looking at that. And the way to do it is to go to a website that is called the Good Bug website, and you'll find where your local suppliers of these are. Maybe you can just ask them. They do have things that list particular predators that are very good for particular pests, and maybe the better solution, instead of spreading chemicals around, is to try and use a natural remedy, something that will predate the mealybug. I don't have the exact answer for you, but I'm hoping I'm steering you in the right direction. Kerry McClure is in Rollystone. Hello, Kerry. Got 2 Hoyas, which were given to you as cuttings about 10 years ago. They look really healthy, but they've never flowered. Any advice on how to encourage flowers? Interesting thing about Hoyas is they can go for the longest period of time without any flowers at all, and then suddenly they just start blooming. Now, it tends to be that the trigger for blooming is when they become quite root bound. And if they're root bound and there's any kind of stresses, the plant thinks I've got to reproduce, so it'll produce flowers. So the tip here, I suppose, Kerry, is maybe keep them on the dry side. Just keep them a little bit stressed, and let's see whether that triggers the flowering, because I think that'll be the solution to the problem. Jeannie Napier, hello, Jeannie. And again, thank you very much for the gifts. You were very kind. Our bird's nest has got a lot of rusty looking spots on the new leaves. What can this be? Anyway, preventing it. Now, if they're on the top of the leaves, it's a problem, and that's generally an indication that you're putting too much water on them. If it's on the bottom of the leaves, it's more likely that they're producing spores, and it'll be a very browny kind of dusty thing is the best way to describe it, I suppose. And it's completely natural, and you shouldn't do anything about it. You should leave it. It's absolutely fine. So yeah, there you go. That's my suggestion for you. Let's have a bit of a look here. I have a big question coming through here from Glenn Miller. Hello, on the Gold Coast, of course. I've recently been in California, and I've seen lots of public areas that are on a slope and are quite densely planted with plants that are nicely trimmed, often 30 to 40 centimetres high. Would like to have something similar to cover sloping footpath that faces southeast on the Gold Coast. Any suggestions, please? Well, I think probably the one place where I really see that a lot is Asia. They really do. Singapore, they literally plant them right up alongside each other. And there's a lot of different plants you can use in this environment. Chrysandra is one, but to be quite honest, don't be limited by that. Because it really just gets down to plants that you like that can grow in quite competitive environments. And of course, because they're all alongside each other, they're very dense. So you do have to control that growth. So you do need to keep pruning down. That's the one thing you will notice, is that they do a lot of that sort of thing. They keep pruning it down. So hopefully that helps a little bit, mate. And thank you very much for your support through the year too, because you've been a regular with us, and we really appreciate that support. George Pitt. George, you are in Perth. I've got a Bohemia. It's around 2 years old. It's been looking okay. However, over the last couple of days, the leaves are going yellow like autumn. The soil's damp. Do you have any suggestions how to remedy it? It could be one of two things. It could be too much water. That is possible. It could also be, George, a situation where you have dry pockets in the soil. So you think that the soil's damp, but when you dig down deeper, you find that there's actually these dry patches. And I've just recently found that in my vegetable garden. Come out of winter, had the irrigation on, the topsoil's nice and moist, dig down a bit deeper, dry patches. So that's where you apply a wetting agent. And I always find the liquids are so good. So something like sea salt, mix it up in a watering can and drench the ground, get the hose out, wash it in so that it really washes down deep. I suspect that, considering the time of the year that we're in a drying environment, that may well be exactly what it is. Anyway, I hope that helps. Jay Pacharata, I hope I got that right. Staying in WA, Jay. Hello, you're in Southern River. Do you have any ideas how to get rid of weeds without killing my grass? Yes, so it depends what you've got, what type of grass and what kind of weeds. If they're broadleaf weeds, then clearly a weed and feed spray is the most convenient way. You can dab, a herbicide directly onto the weeds. If it is spread all the way through, it can be very difficult to do that. And mowing regularly is one way. Mowing low and hard on a regular basis, like twice or 3 times a week, is also more often than not something that the grass will respond to better than the weeds will. So there's 3 options for you. Hopefully something works for you there. Jay, Stu Will, you're in Adelaide. Hello, is there a problem with these pines? Oh, there sure is. It's a really odd thing to see in pencil pines, just out of interest. This is a fungal disease that gets into the foliage and generally occurs when they get a bit stressed. Now, you could try and prune that dead growth out and you could apply a fungicide to them. I'm not 100% sure how successful you're going to be. Generally, if that was occurring where I live, it would be the sign of gradual decline of the pines and they would die. So not the best news for you. It's a difficult fungus to treat, airborne and spread through the Cupressus family, but very unusual to see it in pencil pines. I've seen it in a lot of the others, but not in pencil pines. And generally, as a general comment, it only takes hold generally when the plants themselves are stressed. But look, the environment looks perfect, so there's no real rhyme nor reason as to why that's suddenly occurring there. This may be a case where you need to take them out, mate. Not the best news, I know, sorry, but that's the best advice I can give you. Okay, let's keep moving. Janet Miller, hello, you're in Pingelly over here, or over there, I should say, in WA. Native frangipani tree, front of the property and plums back of the property. Cracked trunks and branches. Pulled out and started again. Sorry, do I pull them out and start again or just leave them? Seen a couple of little holes in the frangipani, maybe a borer. It could be a borer in the frangipanis. Very unusual to see them being affected. I'm not sure that you might just need to actually take a little bit of a look at this more closely and take a couple of photographs, because there is that terrible beetle that's doing all sorts of damage and taking out things like Moreton Bay figs and coral trees, and it's got a wide range of trees that it's affecting. So we do need to have a bit of a think about that as to what it is. So maybe a couple of little close-up photographs of where you can see those little holes so we can get a head around it a little bit better. Just going to say, Glenn Miller, you said, could I please spell your suggestions? Crossandra. So it's Crossandra, Crossandra. That's just one. Honestly, there are so many. It's difficult to sort of narrow it down. So hopefully that helps a little bit. Okay, so let's have a bit of a look here. Pomay Lolita, hello, you're in Glen Waverley in Melbourne, a great part of the world. After hearing about Trevor's cherry trees last week, I feel so sad about mine. I've got 3 cherry trees that haven't produced any fruit for the last couple of years. Could this be a pest issue? They don't look happy at all because they should be covered in foliage. Something is not right. And whatever it is, I cannot obviously see the exact obvious reason. Yes, but there is some growth at the bottom, and maybe trimming out the dead wood above, if that is all dead. If not, they're just incredibly late in kicking off the season, which doesn't feel right to me. I don't think they should be late. So I suspect that wood's dead. So you're probably going to need to remove it regardless, and hopefully that new growth underneath will take off and give you some healthy wood above. And if there's healthy wood, it'll produce flowers. If it produces flowers, obviously it should produce fruit. Very odd. Very, very odd. All right. You were saying the mandarin right next to them also grows in a weird way. I wonder if there's something in the soil with that. That really is strange, isn't it? But yeah, I'm pretty sure that wood above, all that growth is dead. So it will need to be removed. And I can't answer why the mandarin, because there's nothing that impacts a mandarin and a cherry, really, as far as pests go, unless there's something in the soil, which would be very odd, very, very odd. So you've got me guessing too a little bit. Hopefully that my thinking it through and discussing it as I go along has helped a little bit. Okay, let's keep rolling along. Carol Bush, hello, you're in Judbury in Tasmania. Hello. My son's got a retaining wall. We've just covered with mesh to stop weeds. Okay. What's best to grow over a retaining wall? There's so many different things that you could do, and it depends on how big the wall is. So, obviously you're talking about climbers, I'm assuming, to go up. And there are, as I said, many, many different choices. So I've got some retaining walls, and I've got things like ivy on those retaining. They're very rough, so they're very rustic, and I'm quite happy for the ivy to provide a beautiful, dense foliage covering over that. But you can get variegated ivies, you can get dark green ivies, you can get light green ivies, you can get heart-shaped leaved ivies. There's lots of different choices there. So maybe you just need to have a bit of a think about it. Remember, folks, today we've got 2 $50 Garden Express gift vouchers coming out to 2 very lucky winners of the question of the day. And of course, one of those is saying big thanks to Rowan for putting that up as an extra. We really do appreciate it. Ryder Riddell, you're in Southern River. Hello. Weather is so up and down these days. One day it's 23 degrees, the next it's 38. I know exactly what you're going through. Should I be changing my watering timings or anything to suit? Normally I water once a day, lightly, depending on the heat. Okay, Ryder, I water twice a week deeply. So 2 really deep waterings. But on those days that are 38 degrees, wherever I can spot a plant that's looking a little stressed, I'll get out with the hose and I'll give it a bit of a water. The reason why I don't water lightly is because water will only sink down so far into the soil, which means the roots grow generally up near the surface of the soil. And the downside to that is on a really hot day when the top of the soil is baking, so are the roots. And so the plant really stresses. So you're a lot better to do deep watering where the water goes all the way down deep into the soil and the roots follow it down. The deeper those roots, the less stress and the happier your plants. So hopefully that little bit of advice helps. Okay. I think we've got quite a few questions coming through. As a Christmas gift, Margaret Campion, to us viewers, could you please take a picture at your garden, show, and could you talk about your favourite plants? I feel we would get so much enjoyment and help looking at the way you have arranged plants and trees. Why not? I reckon that's a task for Way and Shay. We can go and maybe shoot a couple of little things and maybe we'll do a little session in the next couple of weeks. So keep your eye out on the Facebook page. I'm more than happy to do a bit of a walk and talk through the garden. And I'm sure Shay would be very happy to edit that. I'm sure Way would be very happy to assist us with that as well. Australia gardening. It's got a really good question, actually. This is a really good question. I don't know if you've seen these. They're very common in coastal environments. The small white snails. There's a lot that suddenly will build up in people's backyards if they bought in some coastal plants. Generally, they suddenly pop up in your garden, even though you're not near the coast. Interesting thing about all the mollusks, so snails and slugs, and it doesn't matter if they're the little white ones, the green, or the big traditional garden snail, none of them like copper. Okay, so copper is a big problem for them. They can't process it and it kills them off. So you can control this by putting some bluestone, which is copper sulfate, I think, in trails around garden beds to stop them from coming into those garden beds, and then get in the middle and pick all the ones out and throw them on the outside. If they cross over that copper line, it'll kill them. That natural barrier can be a good way to do it. You know, you can buy copper rings for pots. That's something that is done, or copper tape, but there's a whole bunch of different things that you can do that will control them, but copper is the key. It is probably the easiest one. Okay, let's keep rolling along. We've only got 14 minutes, so I need to get it through your questions as quickly as I can. Sky Haslam, you're in Victoria. Each year I'm losing my pears to fruit flies. Oh, I put out the fruit fly traps and reduce the white moths. Yep. By the time the flower pollinates, I see brown spots and eggs. Now, it shouldn't be occurring at that point. That is more a little bit odd. It's not really fruit fly if it's not in the fruit. If you're only getting to the point where the flowers are just pollinated, it does sound a little bit on the odd side. You have some things in Victoria that I don't experience in Western Australia, like codling moth. That will affect things like the pommy fruit, which includes pears. Pears generally have quite a thick skin, so it's a bit hard for fruit fly to get into them. There are some fruit fly sprays available, and there's certainly a really good one from Yates. Still, I've used it and still had big problems with my apricots, unfortunately. Those summer fruit really are a bit of a challenge. So yeah, hopefully that helps, Sky. I think that you probably want to take a look at that. All right, let's keep rolling along. I think Way has started to nod off asleep. There is a good one from Irene Fraser come through. The drought has finally broken in Bundaberg, have 82 millimetres in the past 2 weeks. Wow. That is phenomenal, 82 millimetres. But now the weeds that were still growing are really powering on. Got some spare time over the Christmas break. I'm inviting you to come and visit my place. Do a demo on how to deal with these weeds. What a great offer, Irene. That's fantastic. So kind of you. She's popped up after that's just joking. But look, you can't have everything. You wanted the rain came. Guess what's going to happen? You're going to get some weed growth. This is where you do go and throw some mulch down, though. A nice big thick layer of mulch can smother those weeds out. So that's a good way to go. Kristen Davis, you're in Hervey Bay, looking for suggestions. I need a tree for my front yard. Looking for something up to 3 metres tall that doesn't drop leaves. 3 metres isn't that tall, but probably one of the things that I would recommend that you consider is one of my all-time favourites, and that is the crepe myrtle. And there are some beautiful varieties of crepe myrtle, and they all come in different sizes, from dwarfs that could be used as hedges right through to quite magnificent trees. You need to carefully select the height because, as I said, they can be quite big or they can be quite small. Just have a bit of a think about that, a bit of a look at that. Where are we going now? We're just about, I reckon, just about there. We have been running through your questions pretty fast today. On my golden delicious apple tree, this is Choice Oaks, I have a few white spiders. Should I spray the tree? Please don't do that. The reason they're there is they're actually catching insects that are coming through. The white spiders are generally pretty harmless. They're not going to hurt you I doubt very much they'd even bite you, to be quite honest. But yeah, they'll get out of your way in preference to coming in contact with you. So hopefully you can leave them to do their job, which is to catch other insects as they're coming in and hopefully predate the ones that could be causing problems for your golden delicious apple tree a bit later on. I think I wanted to say something about apples, and there's this amazing body of research that was done by the Royal Perth Hospital Research Unit. It's a 10-year study, and for all the ladies out there, please listen to what I'm about to say. one of the biggest killers of women in Australia is hypertension. And it's not because of your husband. I need to sort of point that out. It's just one of those things. Hypertension, affects things like your heart, causes stroke, obviously blood pressure issues. One of the things that this body of research did was it measured the effectiveness of an apple a day in your diet. And there was green apples and there were red apples. Now, the red apples, the people who took them, I think it was a research base of, I think, 10,000 people overall, 5,000 having red apples, 5,000 having green apples. And the women that had the red apples, their risk of hypertension-related illness was dramatically reduced, and I think it was like 70 or 80%. So your risk of dying of some of these diseases is dramatically reduced. And it's as simple as just adding a red apple in your diet each day. If you're wondering why the skin varies, the color varies in apples, it's generally the red is caused by stress from sunlight. So in very bright sunlight positions, there's a pigmentation occurs, and that pigmentation is basically what we call a phytochemical, a plant chemical, and it's that's doing all the goodness to reduce your hypertension. So even if your husband is driving you mad, maybe you need to have 2 apples. I'm not sure, but certainly have 1 apple. I know you might not like them, Jeanette Miller, but you're going to have to look after yourself and add them to your diet. Maybe just put a blindfold on when you're eating them, but red apples are really, really good for you. Something you really need to add. And gentlemen, for all of you out there, of course, tomatoes. Prostate cancer is the biggest killer, well, one of the biggest killers of men in Australia. And it's a very significant disease, and prostate disease is dramatically reduced by people who eat tomatoes, men who eat tomatoes. And that's not cherry tomatoes, that is tomatoes. One of the things that I do always talk about is the problem that occurs with fruit. Immediately after picking fruit, its caloric value, its health benefits start to decline. And the older it is, the less you get. So if you can eat stuff fresh, particularly if you've grown it at home, even better. But there is one fruit that's quite different, and it's tomatoes. So that red substance on the outside of the tomato is called lycopene. And lycopene intensifies every day after it's been picked. So, and interestingly enough, like if you're cooking with green apples as an example, you're going to have health benefits as a consequence of the fiber. But a lot of the vitamins are actually burnt out in the cooking process. When it comes to tomatoes, however, if you're making tomato sauce or tomato paste, you are actually intensifying the lycopene. So adding that, if you don't like eating fresh tomatoes, maybe adding some tomato sauce or paste to a meat pie or to a wonderful pasta is a good way for you to get that lycopene into your system, fellas. But please add those things into your diet. It'll keep you nice and healthy, and that's what they say. And Cheryl, you are right. Cheryl Lambert says an apple a day keeps the doctor away, and there must be some truth in there. Kristen Davis says Kenzai and Jazz apples are the nicest. Try one of those. I absolutely love them too. But Bravo is probably the darkest of all of them, and certainly that one's got to be packed full of those things. All right, let's just keep rolling through. There are some questions here. Let's do one last question, and then we'll pick our 2 winners. And I'm going to ask Way to pick the 2 winners because there have been so many good questions today. All right, the one last question is Judenden Peterson. I hope I got that right. Judenden. It's a beautiful name. Hello, my bird of paradise. You advised me to slow the watering off to make it flower. And it has. After 8 years, you got 2 flowers. The only problem is they're at the bottom of the plant and not high up to see. This plant is weird. It's a really good one, Judenden. Well, I'm glad you got the flowers. Interestingly enough, now that it's triggered the flowering process, you can water it. And the next flowers that will come through will probably come through the top of the plant. So that's the good news. I'm glad that a little bit of stress has triggered that little bit of flowering for you, which is really good. Marcia Blake asked a really good question, actually. So tomatoes in season, tomatoes when they're grown at home and picked fresh, sun ripened. They're as good as it gets. But of course, tomatoes are a summer crop. And there's a great question that Marcia Blake has thrown up, and that is, do I recommend Tamarillos? Now, Tamarillo is the tree tomato. It is from the same family as tomatoes, and that red substance in the Tamarillo is, yes, lycopene. The interesting thing about Tamarillos is they fruit during the winter. So if you've got a Tamarillo tree and you grow tomatoes in summer, you can be getting your lycopene shot every day. It's one tomato, by the way, every day. It's about 50 grams. I think was the research that came through. We are getting a little bit late, but I think there's a couple more questions. So I'm going to I'm going to answer those last few questions. Kristen Davis, I purchased a date palm as a seedling. It looks like a single trunk. How do I buy one who has triple trunk? Do I plant 3 seedlings together, or do they branch off? They do have the ability to branch. You can also plant 3 of them together, and the reason you're doing that is because you need male and female date palms if you want to actually get the dates. So you are on fire with that one, Kristen. It should be fine to plant 3. Rena Kellis is in New South Wales. Hello. How to control weeds in pots that you cannot pull without pulling the plant out? What can I use? You know what you can do? You can get your secateurs and cut them right down to ground level. Hopefully just cut them so that there's no growth at all. And you can actually mulch, and you can get this coir fibre covers that you can put over the top of pots, and it just stops weeds growing altogether. It's available in good garden centres. So keep your eye out for it. It's a good way to keep the weeds at bay in your pots. And I reckon that is about it for today. I think that's all we can do, and I really enjoyed these sessions. We've been doing this now for 3.5 months, and we've covered a lot of questions in that period of time. I feel very, very humbled that you join us each week and that you've been so supportive. And the Garden Gurus TV series has just had record ratings again and following, and we are just so appreciative of all the support that you give us. So thank you from the bottom of my heart, and from all the team, because the Garden Gurus supports a number of people in the television industry who work for us and do an amazing job. I'm always so grateful, particularly grateful to Shaylee and to Wei, who have both been running the Garden Gurus Live for us over the last 3.5 months. So big thanks to them. Could not mention that we've had fantastic support from our friends at Troforte. That is an amazing fertilizer, and the concept of feeding the soil is the future. And I really got a big thanks to them. And of course, every single week, Rowan and the team out at Garden Express have backed us. And I'm really, really appreciative of that support. They allow us to be able to bring this to you each week. And of course, they keep coming up with all these amazing plants and special offers for you so that you can keep your hands a little bit dirty in the soil and get out and keep gardening. So big thanks to all of our friends. And Margaret Campion, I think she's said on behalf of everybody, we all thank Garden Gurus, which is lovely. So thank you very much. Our winners today, Christine Boyadigas. Christine, I'm so sorry. You're in Sydney. It was the passion fruit question. That was a fantastic one. And Australia Gardening. Good on you, mates. Thanks so much. That was that question about white snails. They can be quite challenging, but that solution of using copper with snails and any of the mollusks is a great way to get control. Well, look, a big thank you again to Wei and to Shaylee for their great work over the last few months, and a big thanks to you again for your support. Remember, the Garden Gurus will be being replayed on 9 Life over the next few months. You'll be able to watch any of the episodes at the moment that you've seen in the current series on 9 Now, and you can watch them when you want to, which is a great thing about it. One of the interesting facts I will share with you is that the Garden Gurus has been going for 21 years this year, and in that period of time, we've had just under 70 million fact sheet downloads. It's incredible. We're quite blown away. We never stop to actually look at some of those things. We're always so busy out there making things happen, but 70 million fact sheet downloads. It's absolutely incredible. So thank you, everybody, for your support. And from my family and my team to yours, we wish you a very, very Merry Christmas and a wonderful festive season, and certainly a safe and prosperous 2024. I'm looking forward to seeing you then. If we don't see you before, we might just do a little session. So stay with us on Facebook. Keep your eye out for it. We'll pop some little notes when we do something. Maybe that garden tour. But we'll do something for you anyway. I'm Trevor Cochrane. Thank you so much for your support again. Have a wonderful Christmas.